Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Music Lounge, our favorite hang with our favorite people. Perry, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Andrew. We were at a little MTV reunion party last night, which was
We
kind of
were
fun.
saw some old faces that I literally haven't seen since I left, but it was really good connecting with people. Same, telling stories. They were familiar with the podcast, which was good.
Yeah,
We
I-
didn't bring out a mic. I didn't feel like it was the right setting. Plus, it was a little loud, but
it
yeah, it was
was
really
loud.
good to connect and see everyone again.
Yes, I just wanted to remind listeners to please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. That gives us more visibility for other people to discover the show. And now I'm going to jump into introducing our guest today, Robin Reinhardt, who is formerly the SVP of Studio Relations and Celebrity Talent at MTV and is currently has her own company, R&R Talent, where she is using her talent skills to continue to book talent across tons of different platforms and shows. Welcome, Robin.
Hi,
Thank you.
Robin.
Hi, guys. I love you New Yorkers. Like, you have these get-togethers, these MTV reunions. Nobody in LA does this. Like, it's such a bummer. I see it on Facebook. I'm like, and they're never when I'm in New York.
There's enough
We
people
need
out
it.
there. You've got
I
Butterman and
know. I
there's a lot of
There's so many
people.
people
Paul De
here.
Benedettis.
I don't know. We're boring out here.
Well, next time you guys are in New York.
Well,
Yeah, the fall. And we'll be there in the fall. Let's do it in the
Okay.
fall.
uh, I also think too, it's probably, people are sort of more dispersed in LA too. It's a little bit more difficult to sort of find a central location and kind of get everybody to sort of agree to it and show
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, but we did come from a magical time at a magical place, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Yes. Yes, indeed, we did.
So let's jump into it. When there's any discussion about MTV at its peak, and we're talking about the era that we were there, which I was late 90s through 2008, Andrew was 2000 to
2000,
2012,
2012, yeah.
and I know you were there for a good chunk of the 90s and the early 2000s. Most people talk about the music, the videos, the artists, the performances, but just as important to all of that was the celebrity talent um, that took part in all the different shows we had: the VMAs, movie awards, TRL, movie specials, etc. And one person was involved with all of that, and that was you. So how did you end up at MTV, and how did you get into booking celebrity talent? And the second part, internally and maybe even externally, people referred to you by your last name most of the time. They're like, "Oh, talk to Reinhardt. She's, she'll handle that for you." How did that come about?
There was a few
Well,
Robins there, but I'll let you answer
that's
that.
exactly it. I'll answer that one first. Exactly it. There was, at one point, it was Robin DeMarco, Robin Katz, Robin Berlin, Robin Reinhardt. There might have been, Robin Hopkins. Like, there were so
Yeah.
Oh,
many
wow.
Robins. So Michelle Dix, like, Reinhardt became like Dr. Reinhardt. But then Michelle
Cats,
somehow,
right?
yeah, there's Katz, but then Michelle Dix was like, somehow it like sort of evolved into the Reinhardt. Talk to the
The Ryan.
Reinhardt. Like, so I became the Reinhardt. So, and I actually use the Reinhardt like as a login username sometimes. Like,
Okay.
I became the Reinhardt, not even Reinhardt. So yeah. So I mean, I think Robin Hopkins was Hopkins, and yeah, and
Robin
then
DeMarco
Robin,
was Robin DeMarco.
yeah, she was Robin Margaret, and she was Robin with a Y. I think the rest of us
It's
were
Right,
an
true.
I,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
and she was a
correct.
Y. So yeah, so that's sort of how I
That was
think
better than
Reinhardt.
Robin 1, 2, 3, and 4, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. 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 Michelle Dirk. She's so funny. The Reinhardt. She still calls me the Reinhardt. It's so
Love
funny.
it.
Um.
So
So
how'd you
how
get
did I?
started? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's such a long, convoluted like journey. But so I went to school studying math. I did not want to be in math. While I was at school, I was like producing on campus, like the concerts on campus, like REM and James Taylor and Robin Williams. And I was like, found my passion, like music. Music was already always my passion, but working in music was where I wanted to be. I obviously graduated with a math major, but didn't want to be in that space. So what did I do? So I started interning after I graduated at Spin Magazine. And funny enough, one of the, and they eventually hired me on staff as like an assistant editor. And one story they were doing while I was there was a day in the life of rock and roll, where they sent writers like all around the country to different like concerts, labels, anything to do with music on the same day. And I was sent to MTV. And publicist Tina Exaros escorted me all around MTV, the studio, through the halls. I went to the music department. Back then, that music department was the elite. It was like Abby Konowich and Rick Krim and John Connelly, Sherry Howell, Joni.
So MTV hadn't even had their like 10 years yet, right? I mean, they were still,
it was probably 9, verging on 10. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that music department was like legendary. And I was like, and this is where I need to be. So very quickly after that, a job opened for this woman who was head of celebrity talent. And I thought, well, I'll just go for that. And I can just get my foot in the door and then move over to the music department. Well, 20 years later, I was head of celebrity talent. But that music department it's a very special time and place, and the power and the influence they had, it was pretty amazing. So I got hired in as an assistant to this woman who used to be Johnny Carson's assistant, and she came over to head up celebrity talent. She was booking like half-hour comedy hour and like a bunch of things, and she left, and then I started working for someone else in my department. And it's funny, like I tell people this, like I credit Joel Gallen with my career. Like it's because of Joel Gallen that I have a career, because at one point I went to meet with him and I said, I was an assistant. And I'm like, I want to be doing more. I booked tiny little things at that point. I'm like, people really like working with me. I really want to do more. And he's like, let's talk in a couple weeks. And within that couple weeks, he let go of my whole department except me.
Wow.
And hired Robin Berlin on the West Coast. And she became my boss on the West Coast, another Robin. And then I just worked my way up. And then she eventually left, and then I took over. So yeah.
Amazing.
20 years.
I mean, MTV and just music in the 90s, all throughout the early 2000s, but mostly in the 90s, it's like MTV was the only place you could really feel like you're connected to the artist, the celebrity, not just be able to see the actual music videos. And yes, you got to give credit to the team that brought forward the ones that they wanted to support, which ended up being the biggest of the biggest. So that just made MTV just bigger, because they had the biggest, artists on the planet. It was, and there wasn't anywhere else to go. So I felt like that when I was there, but there was competition when I got there. You were probably just riding this wave solo, figuring everything out. You knew there wasn't a rule book, right? Which was probably great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely no rule book. We were all
and when you talk about giving credit to your career, I have to say I give credit to you for my career, because when I started at MTV, I was in a freelance position at MTV Radio, working for this woman by the name of Joanne Hankey, who was on maternity leave, and you had referred me to them for that role. And I ended up staying there almost 10 years. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I don't know if you remember that. But
I don't actually. I don't remember a lot, to be honest. I really don't.
So, yeah, I would not have, I didn't even know that there was an MTV Radio at that point. I had reached out to you and you were like, well, there might be this freelance gig. And so I went in and they hired me. So, yeah.
Oh, well, so glad.
Yeah, Robin. So when you think of like celebrity talent, it really encompasses everything from film and TV, reality stars, which maybe weren't so big in the 90s, fashion designers, musicians, obviously. So with such a small team, how did you manage it? And did you have favorite ins with publicists to really lean on them for bookings, or everyone just probably came to you anyway? So it was more like, who you
Well, yeah. I mean,
felt
once,
like you were.
once the mid 90s hit, mid to late 90s, MTV was definitely like a main stop for everybody.
Yeah.
They definitely wanted their talent exposed. I mean, to your point, at one point, it was literally me.
Right.
Wow.
It was like the music department with their hundreds of, there weren't hundreds, but you know what I mean? There's at least 20
No,
people.
it was
And
big.
then it was
It was a
big.
big
And
department.
then there was
Yeah.
me, and eventually, they hired me an assistant eventually. And then towards the end, I had a coordinator. I was able to plus out, I think there was 3 of us by the end, but every show that needed like a performance needed celebrities. And
Right.
there was a team booking the performances and there was me booking the celebrities. It was overwhelming. There were definitely points in the 90s where I was like, do I need to take a leave of absence? Like, do I need a minute here? Like, it was a lot. It was a lot. I mean,
Were you expected to be there in person when they came in for the taping as well? So
yeah, I
a
was
lot of
expected
your
there.
day was
Yeah. And
probably in
yeah,
person, just
yeah.
covering shoots.
And I started at 1775 Broadway. And then 6 months in, we moved down to 1515. But our studio was still at 42nd and 10th.
Oh,
So
wow.
You were
I
getting the
had to
steps
like
in.
run to the studio, come back to the like it was it was a lot. Like when we
And
moved into the building, thank God, but it was a lot. And yeah, and I will say my first boss, her name was Drew Wilson, the Johnny Carson assistant. She was very much like soup to nuts. She did not want to hand anything off to anybody. She was like, you book someone, you handle it soup to nuts. Like you book them, you're there, you are the liaison. And she taught me that and she instilled that in me. And I still do that to this day. I don't like handing things off because I don't want anything to go wrong. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I could have just sent all the info to the producer and said, deal with them. But that just wasn't what I was taught and it just wasn't what I was comfortable with. So yeah, I was there for everybody. Yeah.
I was sort of taught the same thing. That's sort of how I came up when I was doing celebrity talent at VH1, is that you did the booking, you were on site, you made sure nothing happened, you talked to the producer, you agreed to the talent, you saw them off when they left, you did everything.
Mhm.
And then you sent them all the information post the taping too about when it's
Yep.
going to air and blah, 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 and all of that stuff. But the
Yep.
difficult part of doing that job at that time was you didn't have a cell phone. You didn't have like email. It was like when you're on site, you're just there. You can't really do much of anything else. You can't do your other work.
Yeah, I was funny. I was thinking, like, as I was thinking about different stories and stuff, I remember it was a movie award, and my assistant at the time called me on site. I don't know how I picked up that call. It must have been a hard line. Anyway, she said that somebody's publicist had a lot of questions, and I was on site, and I'm like, okay, can you just type them up and fax them over to me, and I'll look at them and call her back. I mean, it was 2 pages of questions. It was
Wow.
insane what these questions were this person was asking me, but that's what I had to do. Yeah, fax them over. I'll call her back.
Right.
Wow.
When we look at the music team, like, I was lucky enough to be part of some, breaking artist stories and helping them grow. And, we felt like we could really support artists that we felt passionate about. On the celebrity side, did you feel like you were taking a chance on certain celebrities that you felt were going to be big? How did you make the choice on picking certain celebrity talent over others?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was passionate about a lot of people, and it was a lot of convincing. It was interesting because in the earlier days, people took more chances. So I could say, let's have Brendan Fraser do this. Let's, whomever do whatever it is. And they took a chance. As the years progressed and, you got into the 2000s, less chances were being taken. It felt like MTV went from leading the charge to following the charge. Like there was definitely a shift at some point. But yes, in the 90s, and even, into the very early 2000s, definitely more chances were taken. And I'm trying to think who else I championed. I championed a lot of people along the way. I remember even before me, like Robin Berlin was championing Leonardo DiCaprio. And it was like a hard sell to get him on Rock and Jock Basketball. Like, it was like, yeah, he should be doing it. I can't remember specific people, but I definitely was a champion of a lot of people. Definitely.
Do you remember a show called Fanatic?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I worked on a season of that with Sherry Masulam. We were both had previously been at Ricky Lake, and we were going to book Ben Stiller. Something About Mary was about to come out, and like the network was like, we don't know if we don't know if he's big enough. Is he going to have any fans? We're not sure. Blah, blah, blah. And we're like, no, this is going to be a huge hit. And he had already had a show on MTV. Like, people already knew who he was. And finally they said yes. And then literally like a month later, the movie came out and it was like such a huge hit. And I was like, wow, we got Ben Stiller. And we were like, yeah, but you didn't want him at first.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
funny
how...
I remember Gerard Butler. Oh, Gerard Butler. I wanted to book him so badly. I'm like, you guys, we've got to book him. No. And then all of a sudden he's dating Britney Spears for like a hot minute. And was it right? That's right. Right. It was Britney Spears. He was dating somebody for a hot minute. And then all of a sudden, we have to have Gerard Butler. I'm like, I've been saying this for months. Hello.
I mean, unlike music, an artist was already polished in the music video experience, but you were dealing with celebrities off or almost off movie screen. You needed to make sure that they could handle themselves in a live setting. And I'm sure you had some favorites that you knew if you needed someone, you're like, look, I know this guy. They're great to work with. They're not going to give us 1,000 notes. Their team's good. I'm sure that's got to come into it too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Jimmy Fallon in the early days was a definite go-to. Andy Dick, for whatever reason,
then you're like, give him a show.
A go-to. Yeah, he was a go-to for a lot of stuff.
Right.
There was definitely those people. And it was very different back then. It was very like, it's not that I was calling them directly. I never bought into that. I didn't need to be friends with celebrities.
Right.
I needed to be friends with their publicists. Definitely. Right. I did not need to be friends with them. People think, you're friends with them. That's how you're going to get them to do stuff. But it's not,
right.
I mean, they'll tell you yes to your face and then tell their people to tell you no. So I never really, bought into that part of it. But it was just very different back then too, because you could just call a rep, an agent, a publicist, a manager, and be like, "We're doing this show. We're going to be driving around the Florida Keys for a week. Can your client come and do this?" And and now it's like an interrogation. Like, where are you going to be?
How much are they going to get?
How much are they get? Who's driving them? Who's providing the script? It was so loose back then. Like, I literally was driving around the Florida Keys and Long Island with Brendan Fraser and Cuba Gooding Jr. in the back of my rental car. Like, that's how like down and dirty and fun and just low key it was. And you could never get away with that now.
No,
but everybody is out of the gate. Every young actor out of the gate, publicist, manager, agent, lawyer, like you can't, there's not access like that does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
The movie awards, which was probably like your Super Bowl of the year. Like, you had to book the majority of the talent for the show. So how did you survive doing that show? What were some of the guests that you may have booked that were surprises on the show? And was there ever a moment in a show that you and the producers created that generated an enormous amount of buzz?
I mean, I have to say that the moments that happened were really organic. I don't think we actually orchestrated a lot of them. I mean, you know, of course, again, I had to refresh my memory because I just can't remember. But, you know, like the year Jim Carrey showed up as Jim Morrison, essentially sitting in the audience, like, nope, he didn't. I didn't know. Nobody knew that. Like,
Right.
he knew he was, you know, obviously for the movie awards, people know ahead of time that they're winning. I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say that. I hope I'm not giving anything away because they all know. But like, he just quietly came in and sat down, and I knew it was him. Like, I saw him sitting there. I could see by the eyes it was him, and I didn't say anything. I knew it. But then, of course, in the back of my mind, like, but was it? Is it him? But I knew it was him. And he goes up on stage, and everyone was like, "What?" You know, Joel Gallen, what? Nobody knew that. You know, when Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling recreated their kiss, you know, from The Notebook, nobody knew that was gonna. I mean, we all hoped it might happen, but nobody knew it was gonna happen. You know, like the best kiss winners were always talked about a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah, big time. Kathy Flynn actually reminded me that, and this was before I was booking it, I think when Robin Berlin was still booking it, that Mel Gibson stormed out like one year, like just left. So like, that was, you know.
These award shows are so rehearsed and detailed to the second because it's live. Is there any wiggle room to
Well, that's interesting. It wasn't live for the first up until 2005, 6, 5. It was not live. It was pre-taped.
Yeah,
we went live when
to
Mark
tape.
Burnett took over. Yeah, it was live to tape. So we reshot stuff. And
how far after the pre-tape? Was it the same day or?
No, I think it was like a day or two later.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but like those early taping. Oh my God, I'm just remembering this now. Hours to tape those shows because we'd redo stuff because we could.
Right.
And Joel Gallen is such a perfectionist, like hours.
Wow.
We reshot performances like 3 times, like, and then the short films. Oh my God. Like you would think he was shooting like the Apocalypse, The Godfather. Like I'm trying to think of the right example. Like you would think this is like just this epic, like, you know, Titanic, like hours to shoot.
He's going to win an Oscar for the short film.
Yeah, for these 2-minute short films. Hours.
And how did you book talent for those too? Because they knew that they were going to be giving up a good chunk of their day or a couple of days to shoot it.
I didn't really tell people that it was going to be that long. It kind of just evolved into that.
Right.
I mean, I remember when we booked Tom Cruise, we had X amount of time, and Joel had to make it work. Like he was not going to drag this out with Tom Cruise. Like he had to be in, out, hit his mark, boom. And it was when Ben Stiller was Tom Cruise, you know, doing his imitation of him. And it was always him. It was Ben and Tom. And Tom came in, did his thing, and there was no screwing around with him. But then Ben Stiller was there all day.
I mean, but we've talked about Tom in other episodes too, and everyone says, 1, how nice he is, and 2, how professional he is. And he'll say yes to what he agrees to do, no to what he doesn't want to do. But when he says yes, he's all in on the yes.
All in. He's all in. For what it was to book Tom Cruise, like the machine that is Tom Cruise, I did a lot with him. And I can't remember which movie it was. I'm sure it was a Mission. But him and which VJ it was, Tom took him up in his plane and flew him from Van Nuys Airport up to like Santa Clarita to where we then rode on like dirt bikes. Like he is all in. When he's in, he's in. He arrived in Times Square on a
with James Corden, I think he took him up in a plane.
Oh, James Corden. He did that with James Corden too, but it was
that was.
Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Oh my God, it was Sway. Oh. Yeah, and Sway actually had to go to a quick Scientology course before he did that.
Oh,
which was also
Interesting.
very interesting. He did that with Sway. I flew to London for a contest payoff. I flew to Tokyo for a contest payoff. I had him at the movie awards multiple times, like TRL multiple times. Like there was a moment where, I mean, he and I were very friendly, like friendly, not like hanging out together. We're friendly.
Right,
And I
right.
also remember one time he was at TRL. This is also like, this is the machine that is Tom Cruise. He came to the studio. He was talking about this artist. He's like talking up Joss Stone. And I'm like, he's like, you work at MTV. How do you not know who Joss Stone is? And it was like right at the tip of when she was, I'm like, I have no idea. Literally 1 hour, he left the studio going to his premiere. And within that time, within an hour, the mailroom calls me and says, you have a package. And I go down and it is Joss Stone's CD and a note from Tom saying, please listen, you need to know this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, this is the machine that is Tom Cruise.
That's amazing.
Dickster told us the story last night, which is funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
same thing? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah, that's Tom Cruise. Yeah, he's the best. Like, and he invited me in Tokyo after the premiere. He was having a private, like, friends and family dinner afterwards. And I got invited. And I'm like, this is amazing. There's like 20 of us, like, took over this restaurant in Tokyo, and Hiroyuki Sanada came at the end from Shogun.
Wow.
And they were like beating the mochi dough. Like, I'll never forget this. It was like so amazing. And like Hiroyuki walked in and I was like, oh my God, there's that actor. Like, I love him too. And like, it was special times with Tom. Always an adventure.
Do you ever like look back and go, I can't believe I did that? Like, I can't believe this is the life I got to live working with these people.
Yeah, it was very special. Like, don't make me cry. I cried during the TRL interview I did for Vice. I'm not going to cry again, but it was seriously like, we were so lucky. Like, we had
at the
no
time,
idea.
it's a job, right? It's just going
to
work.
Yeah, it's a job.
Amazing.
It's overwhelming. Yes, it's an overwhelming job. Yeah. But, I think at the time, like, yes, I got to fly to Japan and Australia with Bon Jovi and Pierce Brosnan. And I got to go,
wow.
I flew around the world on Fly 2K with 98 Degrees and the Goo Goo Dolls because nobody in the music department wanted to go. And I'm like,
I was so jealous because I totally wanted to go on that trip. And I remember Rachel McLean from Digital went. So they were like, no, Rachel's going. You don't need to go. But yeah.
I thought that was probably the best memory. Like, they chartered a plane, 100 winners from around the world, me, 98 Degrees, Kathy Flynn, her whole team, Finland, Rome on Christmas Day. We're in Rome on Christmas Day,
wow.
Paris, London, and then flew back in time to be in Times Square for New Year's. Yeah, it was magical.
Amazing.
And I can't imagine anybody doing something like that today either. I mean, obviously there's no Y2K happening again, but I can't imagine someone investing in doing something like that again either.
I know.
It'd be a lot more expensive, that's for sure.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, we chartered a full-size plane. We flew into Rovaniemi, Finland, which is above the Arctic Circle. It's like essentially the North Pole. And then the plane had to fly back down to wherever and stay because it was too cold to stay up there.
Wow.
And they came back up and got us, de-iced like 3 times before we could take off. Yeah, it was crazy. We rode, 98 Degrees rode bobsleds with the dogs. And yeah, I didn't do that.
So are all these stories going in your book?
They're going in Kathy Flynn's book. Kathy Flynn's writing a book. Yes. Yeah.
Amazing.
She can remember everything. I can't. I had a call. Yeah. Like, I can't remember anything.
Tuma Bussa has an amazing memory, and he actually documented a lot of just office shenanigans, and like he always had this little like video camera, and I'm like, didn't even really have those back then. He always had the newest small little thing, and he just had it going the whole time, and like, pictures, and not like selfies with celebrities, but just, really cool office shots that I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
We're going to throw you a little quick fire round
Oh, okay.
and get to, learn more about the Reinhardt. What was your first concert?
Oh my God, Andy Gibb, Great Adventure, in New Jersey.
Very cool. Favorite movie?
I guess it has to be A Room with. Yeah, I think it's A Room with a View. I always go back to A Room with a View.
Okay.
You know, Helena Bonham Carter, Daniel Day-Lewis, Julian Sands. Sad, Julian Sands. Yeah.
What was your first album?
I mean, I'm sure it was something like Donny Osmond or something like that. But again, in thinking about music and my obsession with British music, like my first real love was the Bay City Rollers, and I had imports. My first imports were Bay City Roller albums. Like that was my first, experience in getting imports.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
I just for the show I'd been working on, my YouTube show, we booked the lead singer of the Bay City Rollers to be a guest on it.
Oh, I love that. I used to love them.
What was your biggest starstruck moment?
I mean, I get starstruck with people that I shouldn't be getting starstruck with. You know what I mean? Like John Cusack, I think, was a big moment for me, and sad that you don't ever want to meet your heroes. So it wasn't the best experience, but I probably was the most starstruck with him, like as far as like somebody I should be starstruck with. But then, I get excited seeing like Jeff Lewis or like Ncuti Gatwa from Sex Education and Doctor Who. I get excited with these younger people that are just making a statement and a name for themselves. But I guess John Cusack probably. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I've just met so many people.
That you can't show your,
Yeah, like never ask for a photo, never ask for I have a photo with Tom Cruise. I have a photo with him. Okay. And only because somebody forced me to take it. And then he forced me to take it.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I don't want to do this. And he pulled me over. I'm like, fine, whatever.
You deserve one. What's your favorite artist right now? And where do you learn about new music?
I learn about new music from my daughter.
Okay.
She's 16. She's playing it all in the car. I've learned to love SZA. I've learned to she loves this artist. I'm sure you know her, Tate McRae.
Oh, yeah. I got two daughters as well. Yeah.
Okay. I love her. Like, I listen to her on my own now. Like, I love her.
I sometimes go with my kids to see shows. I've been to a Tate show, Madison Beer, like everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely my daughter.
3 Taylor Swifts.
See, my daughter won't do the Taylor Swift. She's like, anything that is like big pop culture, she wants no part of. So I got out of that. I got out of that ticket price. It's funny because when I started MTV, and the reason I wanted to be at MTV was because of the music. Like that was just my passion. And then as I got more and more on the celebrity side and the movie side, I'm less passionate about music, and I'm way more passionate about film and TV. I like listening to music. I used to be like in the record store almost every day, and it's just sadly died out a little, but I love movies. I love TV.
I love a lot of TV.
That's my new passion.
Do you have a favorite music venue? Last question.
I love the Forum.
Okay.
I just love the Forum. I just think acoustically it's amazing. I've only been to a handful of shows there. I saw Michelle Obama there. And again, going to a concert for me, it takes a lot. The people and the traffic and the cars and going down to Inglewood. Like it takes a lot for me to do that. But yeah, for the few times I've been at the Forum, it's a pretty amazing venue.
What about in New York? Big MSG shows and...
Yeah, I've been to those shows, Jones Beach, like that. Yeah. That was always fun back in the day. I remember seeing In Excess there years ago.
How is it after spending a lot of time in venues for award shows? How is it going back to see a concert? Like, I forget who we had, but they were like, the whole time I was sitting, I think it was Tom Calderon, he said, the whole time I was sitting at like MSG to watch a band, I was just thinking about their route backstage and how they get from the green room to the stage. And he was like, I can't concentrate on this show.
Yeah, 1,000%. That definitely happens. Yes,
Right.
100%. I'm trying to think of a venue out
And
here.
you're like, I know things other people don't know
Yeah.
in your role.
Like
You're
I've
like,
done
I know
shows at the
backstage.
Palladium, you know,
Right.
at the Palladium, but then I go there for an event and I'm just like, okay, I know
Yeah.
what's happening here, you know, like.
I remember sitting with you at a David Gray show at Madison Square Garden.
Oh my God, David Gray. Yes, I used to love him. He was so great. He was one of my favorites back then. Yeah.
Getting back to it, I guess both celebrity and music talent sometimes can be hard to handle without naming names, unless you want to, but don't have to. Have you ever had any like moments, like people cancel last minute, refuse to go on stage, refuse to go through with the script, and how did you handle those moments?
I mean, now I'm like, whatever. Now
Right.
I'm like, you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
Now I'm like, you're canceling. You can't. Like, I can't. Now I don't get as stressed. Back then, it was obviously a different story. I remember a TRL, Queen Latifah was the guest. We were live, like we were counting down, like 5, 4, 3, and she is just walking in the door.
Wow.
And I am like, and I run up to meet her and I'm like, we are walking. We are not stopping. We are walking. And I walked her down the hall and back the back hall and backstage. And I mean, she was late, but it was fine. But she literally, like, we were counting it down and she just walked in the door. That was probably the closest call I probably had.
You always have a contingency plan, or the producers? No,
not always. I mean, yeah. I mean, on TRL, because you're live, yeah, they can go out of order. They can switch it.
Right.
On like movie awards, when we were pre-taping, obviously things could switch. When we were live, things had to acts had to completely swap. And I remember things like that happening. I feel like I remember more of that happening now. I remember like a People's Choice Awards, which we're not here to talk about, but I remember Kevin Hart running as they're announcing, and the winner is Kevin Hart, him entering the backstage area, and we just like threw him on stage. Like, I don't remember things like that back at I'm sure things like that happened, but I don't recall a lot of them.
Were there so early. I was assigned to talent, and I just remember them just being there the whole day, because they want to be there early for the red carpet, and then they just hang out. Yes, you might have to, grab them from the bar or the green room, and where are they, in the venue, but.
And back then too, like movie awards,
they
VMAs,
wanted to be there.
They wanted to be there. The green room was a party. The green room was a whole separate party happening. It wasn't even like the post party. It was the pre-party. It was the pre and during the show party. So like movie awards, especially, like people definitely came and getting into the green room was a hot ticket. Like, I remember like turning people away at the door. It became like violent almost, like that people are being turned away from the quote unquote green room. Like we at one point had to create a secondary green room to the green room because there were so many like ad sales and whoever in the green room that like celebrities just had nowhere to go. So we had to create this like private secondary green room to the green room so they could go in there and be left alone.
Right.
Like it was a little nutty. It was definitely nutty.
I do remember I was with Martin Lawrence one year at the movie awards, and he almost left right before he was supposed to go on stage. And I remember Sally and Van had to go out to his car and convince him to come back in and do his segment of the show. Yeah.
Yep. And there was also the year that we had the Breakfast Club.
Exactly.
And what's his name? Judd Nelson stormed out. And poor Raquel Bruno trying to like get him back. And we never got him back. So yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, at least he did.
That definitely happened.
Well, at least he did the 40th anniversary reunion.
And by the way, I was shocked that Emilio Estevez was there because he was always the holdout. That was a pretty special time. That was a pretty special moment that they got that. That was awesome. Yeah, he was always the holdout. Because we tried to do that multiple years.
Yeah.
And he was always the holdout. Never wanted to do it.
After MTV, you went out on your own, started your own company. You've been booking talent for multiple shows over the last 15 plus years, I guess. So what are some of the projects that you've worked on post MTV? And what are some of the successes that you've had? And also, how has booking talent, or even the term talent, changed since you left MTV?
It's changed so much. I mean, like I said, like from the 90s and early 2000s till now, I mean, there were always gatekeepers. There was never not a gatekeeper, but that gate has gotten a lot stronger. And I think social media has really changed the landscape. I mean, I'm sure people have talked about this. It hasn't changed, I don't think, as far as like the bigger events, the bigger shows, and the bigger things that people do. But I think for the smaller things, smaller talk shows, podcasts, like they can sit in their kitchen and record a video and put it up on their Instagram and get 10 times the exposure of what they're going to get on whatever this little show is that you want them on. So it's become a real challenge to get people. And also, you know, back then there was like the major networks coming at them, couple cable channels, and that was it. And now it's 100 different outlets coming at them at once for the same project, and they have to prioritize. They have to pick and choose. Like you're just
it's all about the size of the audience, probably,
size
and
of the audience,
and the buzz that they're going to get from being on there.
Exactly. You know, and it really, you know, it's really made my job, and I've talked to other bookers about this too. Like it just made our jobs so much harder, you know. And I have said this for 1,000 years, and I'm sure you've heard this as well. Like you're as good as what you're booking. You know, you're only as good as what you're booking. Like, so if you're booking some little like YouTube show, you're not going to succeed the way you're going to succeed if you're booking the Grammys or you know, the Emmys or whatever. So it's made it really tough. But you know, having said that, once I left MTV a year later, I got brought on to People's Choice Awards, and I was able to ride that through the Mark Burnett years. Then E took it, then NBC took it, and I was able to ride that for about 12 years, which was awesome. I was able to continue with my expertise on, you know, keeping that show relevant, keeping the talent relevant. I have a great relationship with Film Independent, which is an amazing organization that, you know, advocates independent film. And now Spirit Awards also has television. So like I've been booking that for like 14 years. I do live reads with them and other events with them. And I also, one of my other like really special clients is BAFTA North America. I am such an Anglophile that it's the perfect fit for me. But, you know, I book their tea parties, and they had an award show for a long time, the Britannia Awards. I was booking that, and hopefully something is going to come back this year to replace that. So I work with BAFTA, and I've done talk shows, I've done podcasts, I've done a lot of events. I love an event. I love booking panels. I just did the American Cinematheque tribute to Jessica Chastain. And I'll be continuing on with that. I love an event mostly just because it's one and done. And you just can do different things every time. It's like this event and then this different event. This, and when you're on like a daily talk show, it's just the same event over and over and over. So I like an event. I like to change things up. I like when you're on an event as opposed to like a daily talk show, you are part of the core creative team. You have such a bigger voice when you're on an event. You know, when you're on a talk show or a podcast, or you're just a clog in the wheel, you know, you're just facilitating a guest for them. You're not really a bigger part of the creative conversation. And I like that. I don't want to be a producer, but I do like to be creative, and I like to contribute and give ideas and suggestions. And
It helps you,
So
I
that's
think,
why,
be a
yeah.
better in your role because you have that much more insight into
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
direction of that taping and
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
how do you feel about, like, influencers and reality stars being considered talent now too? Is that something that, people respect, or is that something that is like,
A moment in time.
that you end up booking that stuff, or, yeah.
I mean, I definitely book influencers. I definitely put more value in influencers than I used to. I mean, I have my own like focus group right here in my house with my daughter. Like, she doesn't know who Tom Cruise is. Like, she
Right.
just doesn't, but she knows who, these dance mom dancers are, like, and she's 16, and that's the audience. And,
Yep.
I definitely put way more value in the influencer world. And by the way, I put way more value in the Kardashians. Like, I know they're famous for nothing, but by the way, they're famous for a lot. Like, they're amazing businesswomen. You know what I mean? Like, you can't poo-poo the Kardashians anymore. Like,
and honestly too, I mean, anything that they're on, anything that they appear in, I mean, it's going to get recognized. It's going to get views. It's going to get,
yes,
like,
yes,
just a photo of them is going to get clicked on more than almost anything else you could put out there.
yes,
So, yeah.
yes. And like, I was like coming up with a hit list for this little show that I'm on, and I said to my daughter, I need people that live in New York. And she threw out this influencer to me. And I knew the name. And I look her up, and she has 8 million followers. I'm like, okay, I have to put her on the list. She has 8 million followers.
Right, right.
So yeah, so I they're not my first list.
Right, right.
But they definitely are a bigger part of the conversation. Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
and I work with a lot of old school producers, traditional producers, and they want stars,
Right.
traditional stars. So I don't think the traditional stars are going to ever go away.
Right.
But I do think it's evolving, especially like with my daughter's generation, and like it's different. It's just very different.
And you also have to educate the producers on why they should be considering these other people too. It's like, we can try and get Tom Cruise, and I know how difficult that's going to be, but is that going to be relevant to the audience you're trying to reach?
Yeah. And honestly, that was an argument back in MTV as well.
Exactly.
They don't care. I remember, and I use this as an example a lot, but they booked U2 to perform live in the lodge, on the balcony at the lodge for TRL, and it got like a 0.1. Like, the audience just didn't care. Like, they are iconic.
Yeah.
But for that audience, they didn't care.
You have to cater to the demographic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So it was like a huge win. It was like, image wise, it was a win, for MTV and TRL, that was a win. But like, ratings wise.
Yeah. All right.
Robin, this is it. It could be a part one, right? It could be the end.
Yeah, there could be a part two. There really could be a part two.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We really appreciate it. And we'd love to, talk to you more when we've got other questions and stories to tell.
Yeah.
So that'd be
great. I would
love
that. Thank you so much for asking me. This was fun.
Good. Good. And as I said at the beginning, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we appreciate anyone and everyone listening and sharing. So thank you.
What he said. All right.
All right.
Take care. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.